Hello and welcome to Ask MotorInc. This time we have 6 questions. And if you're wondering where these questions are coming from, we get them from MotorInc Circles, which is sort of like the best of a forum social media. It's part of the MotorInc app. The app is free to download, Circles is free to use. And when people get queries, questions, confusions, they post them on Circles with the hashtag AskMotoring. Motoring Fam, which is an intelligent, thoughtful community, helps them out as much as they can. And sometimes we feel like we should jump in and have an opinion too. Some of those questions come here to this video. The first question is from Ashu. It's a very long post. I'm not going to read the whole post out. Motoring Circles doesn't really restrict the word count too much, so people do put in a lot of good information. I've read this post in detail, and the upshot is has a Triumph Scrambler 400X. It's done 12,500 kilometers, had a crash about 4,000 kilometers ago. And since then, despite everything, the bike just doesn't seem to feel the same. And he's basically not sure what to do next. And the simple answer to this is not to sell this bike and move on. The simple answer to this is to recognize what authorized service is good at and what authorized service just cannot do for you satisfactorily in the way that the system works in India today. And in your situation, Ashu, what I would do is in your city, I would find a better mechanic, and you can do that quite easily on Motoring Circles. Go to the search engine and search for two hashtags. Hashtag mega mech, which is a derivative of a episode we did on Disconnect Our podcast, where we said who's a mechanic that you recommend, and please post that. And a lot of people did. And then add the hashtag for your city, and you will find a list of mechanics who people in your city, part of the motoring community, people in your city trust and work with. And to me, what I would always say is solutions can come from authorized service, especially if you want to maintain warranty and stuff like this. But diagnoses are often done much better in the outside system where there are trusted, more skilled mechanics. At a baseline, Indians typically do not pay enough for motorcycle service. And when you don't do that, then when a mechanic becomes senior enough, knowledgeable enough, they can no longer earn a valid amount of money from the authorized service network. And therefore, either they have to become like a corporate mechanic, in which case they're not actually working on your bike anymore, they're working in the service system, or they have to move out and create their own garages. And therefore, the actual hardcore diagnosis skills go there. So in your case, you're saying the motorcycle doesn't seem to go straight, there's an issue with the engine where at certain revs it doesn't run right, etc. To me, I would say whatever the authorized service center has done, that's fine. Let's take this motorcycle, go to an outside garage who we trust, a mega mech, and go to this person and say, can you help me at least diagnose what the problems are? Because a service center will often think of things as things to be replaced in terms of large volumes of equipment. So it might be, for example, they say, oh, the throttle body and the pulley on the throttle body and all the wire, etc., is one unit, and we can only order that thing, so we can only order the whole thing. And therefore, they also can't diagnose that this has 5 parts in it. Whereas the outside mechanic will say, okay, it looks like your pulley is damaged. Let's see if we can find a pulley and replace only the pulley, which is cheaper. Or no, we can't. We'll have to order this whole unit from there, but we know what the source of the trouble was. So to me, what I would do, Ashu, is don't get frustrated with your bike. Just go to Circles, find a mega mech in your city, go there, and then use their services to at least establish what is wrong, and then go to the service center and tell them what you would like done. Don't ask them for their opinion. Don't second guess yourself. If you trust this mechanic's judgment, then you're telling the service center what to do, which is fix that, change that, tighten this, and bill me. I'm paying labor for all of this. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know your opinion about whether this is a good thing to do or not. I just need it done. That usually will solve this, and very, very quickly. Next question is from a regular at Motoring. I call him SSD, Shraddha Suman Das, and his question is, if you were to buy a limited edition, such as the 25th anniversary edition of a motorcycle or scooter with a unique color scheme, finish, special badges, and then he has a crash on this machine, will he get replacement parts that are the special edition livery parts, or will he just get like regular replacement parts? And the answer is it depends on the manufacturer. Japanese manufacturers, which are typically very thorough about things like this, can be very slow to move, and therefore once you've ordered your special livery part, it can take forever to arrive. But in most Japanese companies, eventually it is almost guaranteed that this part will arrive. Other companies may not be so thorough, and this might become really difficult to do. And yes, there will be people who will want to cheat the system and say, oh, the golden whatever badge was a part of the anniversary special, I'll just order the golden badge, and that happens too. So the honest answer is, in theory, you should be able to get the exact replacement part, including the special livery that you were enjoying so much. In theory, this should happen to all the manufacturers at all of their service stations across cars and motorcycles and everything. But in practice, you'll find this a little bit difficult, and it changes from manufacturer to manufacturer. So whenever you ask us this question more specifically, Shraddha, we can have a more specific answer. Next. I've been thinking, does it make more sense to rent motorcycles for weekend rides instead of buying one? I work a 9 to 5. His commute is on his Jupiter because he needs the storage, but he does love riding highways. He has eyes on the Duke 250, but he can only ride on the weekend, so maybe 3 or 4 times a month. Buying feels risky. Should he just consider renting? And the answer is yes, he should. To me, owning a motorcycle is a very powerful experience, and there is no getting around that. But while you're unsure about what kind of motorcycle you want to buy, for example, he's pretty much convinced about the Duke 250, but is not sure about it. It's a great time to rent motorcycles and explore your options further, especially at the early stages of your career. So, what I would do if I were 19, 20, 21, just starting to work again, and I had a scooter to complete my commutes, is to keep an eye out for rentals and say, can I try a sport naked this weekend and go somewhere with it? And then can I take a sports bike and go somewhere else the next weekend? And can I take an adventure tour and go somewhere else the next weekend? And all of the advantages of rentals are spot on, right? Your sense of, I have to put so much money to acquire an experience with this format, that bar is lowered. You don't have to find parking during the week, etc. Those bars are lowered. There's no continuous running service expense running with this motorcycle because you're not an owner, and all of these things are true. What I will also warn you about rentals is rentals are some of the least well kept machines on the planet. This is globally true, but in India, this is especially worse because Indian riders tend not to take care of machines that are not their own. So, generally, the issue that I have heard from the people who rent motorcycles, agencies and individuals alike, is they seem to get back their machines in horrible condition. So, if a machine has 10,000 kilometers on the clock in a owner's hand, this would feel practically new, but on a rental it'll feel clapped out and old, and that's the only thing that I do have to warn you against. So when you go out and try renting machines, you will have to go through the process of trial and error until you find people who do keep their machines really well, who do rent their machines a little bit cautiously, and therefore the experience you'll have on that machine is properly representative of what that machine is about, and therefore you end up having a good weekend. That's the only caveat with rentals. But to answer your question in short, if you're not ready to buy a motorcycle but do want to experience them, renting is a very powerful way to do it. Next, Pratham Rao. He had a puncture on the rear tire of his 2024 Duke 390. It was a big one in the center of the tire. He had to fix it with two puncture strips, and yesterday after the wash, he realized that there was still air leaking from it. Steel braids are visible near the spot. The rest of the tire seems okay. The Metzeler tire is about 8,700 kilometers old. What should he do? And the answer, Pratham, unfortunately, is globally, the standard is if you have one puncture, the tire is done and it needs to be replaced. And this becomes more and more intense and strident depending on how much higher performance your machine is capable of. And to me, if you're saying it was a puncture, it's in the center of the tire. Remember, the center of the tire is in the contact with the ground the most in terms of the entire structure of the tire. That's the one that gets the most use. Your puncture is there. It was so big it required two of the sticky filling plugs to plug it in, and then it's not been done properly. You can see that the braid, which is part of the structure of the tire, those are visible, which means they're also cut, etc., etc. This just sounds like a bad deal. And look, 9,000 kilometers done on that tire. If you're a reasonably quick rider, you've got maybe 3,000 kilometers left on that tire, if at all. Plus, Metzeler 2024 Duke 390, you're not having the best experience in the motorcycle anyway because there are better tires than this Metzeler. So to me, everything, starting with the most important thing, which is once you have a puncture, you should think of that tire as done, not that the rest of the tire is okay. That's a dangerous way to think. But starting from there and adding up, you should just get a new tire. You will enjoy a much better experience. If you're looking for tire recommendations, my top recommendation today easily is the Eurogrip Pro Talk Extreme tire, followed by the Apollo H1. About the same kind of zone, but a lot more expensive, can be the Michelin Road 5. These three, they are all awesome tires. They're all definitely better than the tires you're running right now. So forget about the puncture for a minute, upgrade your motorcycle, get better tires. The next question is from Vedansh. This is a situation we've all found ourselves in. There is no right answer really, but I will tell you how to work this as best as I can. In fact, I think this actually belongs in the W46 episode of Ask Motion because the answer is philosophical rather than real, but hear me out. Vedansh's question is he earns 25,000 rupees every month and he's decided to spend 2.5 lakh rupees, 10 times that, buying a motorcycle. Currently, he's leaning towards the Honda CB350 RS. Here's the dilemma. If he reduces his budget by 50,000 rupees, under 2 lakh rupees, he can buy the bike sooner. Let's call it 3 months from now. If he were to then use that motorcycle 1 or 2 years, gain more riding experience, and then upgrade to a proper adventure touring motorcycle in the 3.5 to 4 lakh rupee price range, then he would find a motorcycle that is comfortable for his touring partner. And then 1.5 years from now, they could start touring together. But on the other hand, if he doesn't save this 50,000 rupees and goes ahead and gets the CB350 RS or something around 2.5 lakh rupees, then the purchase of the bigger ADV would have to be delayed another 3-4 years. And then there is the additional headache of maintaining a higher end motorcycle, which means more expenses in service, etc. So he's conflicted. Should he save 50,000 rupees, buy something worth 2 lakh rupees, knowing that it'll add up to something in 3-4 years' time, or go with the larger machine now, knowing that it delays everything else further? And to me, Vedansh, I did answer this in another context in the W46 episode of Ask Motoring 2. And the idea that we are being given as a society is that we just need to keep growing and jumping and larger is better and all of that. And frankly, for motorcycles, it's just not true. There are brilliant motorcycles under the 2 lakh rupees. There are brilliant motorcycles at 2.5 lakh rupees. And there are brilliant motorcycles at 4 lakh rupees. And this is an infinite thing. Would it not be more special to be able to see the most special of every single one of these price points in your career rather than just hop, skip, and jump and land on something big? One of the most fortunate things about being a road tester is you do not have a choice about the displacement of the machine you're going to get next. And therefore, you can have to go from a 1200cc V4 all the way down to a 100cc single commuter and then to a sports bike, which is a 4-cylinder liter class at the racetrack, back to the street with a scooter. And it's the fact that we have to learn not to associate powerful emotional values with them at sight based on spec. We find emotions as we ride these machines, and that's the best part about road testing. And I would tell you to do the same thing. To me, your first approach sounds absolutely spot on. Spend a little less money, try and find something really special on a nice and tight budget so that that machine has a chance to become your friend, teach you a few things, have an emotional connection. And yes, this connection is temporary. In 2, 3, 4 years' time, you would have learned everything there is to and moved on, first emotionally and then actually. And to me, the 50,000 rupees you save is not critical to this. The fact that you took the time to take this step is critical to this. And to me, this is what I would tell you to do. Don't look for the maximum bang you can get for your buck. Spend a reasonable amount of money and find the best motorcycle you think you can for that money. Many of you will get it right. A few of you will make a mistake. Mistakes are very powerful ways to learn. And having a motorcycle that doesn't quite work for you and then learning to make it work for you will also teach you a hell of a lot of motorcycling, about yourself, about what you enjoy and what you do not enjoy. I would not want to skip these experiences in the search for horsepower or cool factor or any of these things. Just as an example, let's assume that Vedansh is currently riding a scooter of some sort and he's considering the CB350 RS and is aiming for an adventure tourer which he will ride with his partner in 1.5 years' time. Even if we assume that Vedansh is Albert Einstein of motorcycles, how could he possibly know how the experience from a scooter to a CB350 RS to adventure tourer will progress? How could Vedansh possibly know at this point how his preferences will change as he becomes an older human being with new experiences, with more riding under the belt? How do you know that his partner will not say, I prefer to ride pillion on Harley Davidson and I just don't want the adventure tourer instead? All of these are unknowns and guesses, and the best way to guess right is to have more experience. And if you want good, powerful experiences, you don't need to be overwhelmed by a specification. You need to fall in love with a simple motorcycle. That's what I would do. Last question, and this is a very important question, is from Ruchir. He's just got a TVS helmet for 3,300 rupees. He wants to buy visors, a clear as a spare and a dark one, and he's unable to find it because they don't seem to be selling visors. And there's no solution to this because you're asking what visor will fit your helmet, and it doesn't work like that. There are no universal visors really. But this is a very, very important thing. So sometimes you'll go out into the market and you'll be buying a helmet and you like a helmet and you like the price and you're lucky you'll even find the size that you want. I would always, right at that point, ask for a spare visor. To put a fine point on it, last week, as I record this, I got a call from a journalist friend of mine who was in a shop in Tokyo looking at a specific kind of armor, and he wanted to know if I tried it and if I like it and should he buy it. And I gave him advice. And then he said, do you need something from here? And my RI helmet was about 5 years old. So I said, can you get me a helmet? And he did. And the moment we decided which helmet, which color, pattern, size, etc., he was buying, the first thing I said is just don't just buy the helmet. It comes with a clear visor. I know this. It must also have a dark visor. Please spend extra money, get that, and I'll repay you for the helmet, for the visor, and everything. And in my life, I've never bought a helmet without having the dark visor in place. And I do remember a point right at the beginning when I bought a Vega or something. It was called the HP or something like that. And that helmet did not have a spare visor because you couldn't find one. The shop guy said, I don't have a way of ordering one. And to me, it separates good helmets from bad helmets. Good helmets, finding spare visor should be easy. Searching for a spare visor is a very good thing for you to do. I'm really happy that Rocher has been looking out at it. And yes, when manufacturers collaborate with helmet manufacturers, these are the kind of things that slip through because these are being done by business guys, not by riders in that sense. So if I were in your place, I would actually start from the other end. Ather makes helmets now. I just heard that Ultraviolet announced something at the Milan show. TVS has branded helmets and Royal Enfield has branded helmets, etc., etc. I would start looking at where the spares are. Because MT spares, LS2 spares, KYT spares, NHK spares, etc., are relatively much easier to find than these specialist branded helmets. Most of the time, these brands may not want you to know who is manufacturing these helmets for them. And in that case, if the pipeline is designed to give you a saleable helmet product with a visor on it, there may not actually exist a supply chain for spare visors at all. You can help yourself. So, for example, if you were to discover that this particular TVS helmet that you're buying is made by KYT or Vega or Steelbird or Axor or whoever, then you can figure out which model this is, find the visor for that model, and then add it back to your helmet. But this just gets unnecessarily complicated. And to me, I would advise manufacturers, if you're going to go down the helmet route, and I think you should not, helmets are specialist, mission critical safety devices. Think 32 times before you touch this. If you're going to go down this garden path, make sure that at the very basic, spare visors are easy to get and easy to purchase, because if you're not doing that, you're generating business, but it's not for the motorcyclist, it's only for the balance sheet. That sounds like an nasty thing to do, especially given the fact that you are a motorcycle manufacturer in the first place. So I'm not singling TVS out here. I'm saying most manufacturers who enter the helmet business will not have paid attention to the fact that if your helmet visor quality is poor, then within a year, there will be a rider out there who needs a better visor and you're not able to provide one. This is why I am very, very cautious about manufacturer branded helmets as a primary helmet for myself. I just don't want to do it. And I think that will do it for this week. Karthikeya will be here next week with more answers to more questions. If you're wondering how you should ask your question, get the MotorInc app. It's very easy to sign up. It's free to download. In there, you'll find a section called Circles, which sort of feels like forum come social media. It works really well. You will be surprised at how many owners of the same machine as you've got or the same machine you're considering are in there. You'll be surprised at how many answers come to each question. You will be surprised at how intelligent and sensitive that community is. And I do encourage you not just to ask questions, stuff that you know about. Please do share as posts and as answers to other people's questions. All of that is happening in Motoring Circles. I look forward to seeing you there. And in a week, Karthikeya looks forward to seeing you here.